If I can have everybody's attention, please. We are 2 minutes after our start time, so we do want to go ahead and get going and stay on schedule today. We've had exciting events this morning. I want to thank everybody that's been involved in that. Most importantly, the founders. We may have some in the room right now. We'll hopefully see more in the events this evening. But I want to thank everybody involved with that. And also encourage everybody to please stay for the events this evening that are certainly showcase, I think, everything we're trying to accomplish by and through Innovate Alabama on behalf of the citizens in support of Alabamians in innovation here in our state. So with that, I'll ask Jordan Howard, please call the roll.
Chairman Bill Poole.
Here.
Vice Chairman Greg Reed.
Here.
Representative Anthony Daniels.
Here.
Representative Danny Garrett.
Here.
Pro Tem Garland Gutcher. Senator Bobby Singleton. Mr. Rich Beelan. Dr. Michael Chambers.
Here.
Mr. Abe Harper.
Here.
Mr. Dave King.
Here.
Ms. Brittany Somerville.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Having a quorum, we will call this meeting into order. Before we move into our agenda, I want to thank all of the board members for attending today. I know I say this at each meeting, but it requires time, sacrifice, a lot of sacrifice. So particularly those that have traveled from other areas of the state. So thank you all for being here today and for your commitment to this effort. I also see Senator Dan Roberts from here in Jefferson County. Thank you, Senator, for joining us today, and we appreciate and are grateful for your support and this great community in this effort. Thank you. Our first item on the agenda today is to consider and adopt the meetings from the September 24, 2025 board meeting.
So move.
I hear a motion to adopt and a second. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Those minutes are adopted. We'll begin our substantive agenda at this time. I'll turn the floor over to our CEO, Cynthia Crutchfield, to begin by addressing Innovate Alabama's 2025 focus areas.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here. Definitely standing room only. So we're really excited to wrap up 2025. It's amazing that we've already gotten to this point and we are leaning into 2026. So I have a couple of updates just by way of what we're going to be focusing on for 2026. But before I do that, is Will Harding in the room, please? Will, if you would, stand up, raise your hand. Will just recently joined the team. He is working on the SSBCI program on Lend AL. So he's working the debt program for anyone who's looking for capital and support in the debt area. Please do see Will. And I'm sure he can make it happen for you. So thank you. Welcome to the team, Will. So as we round out 2025, we are continuing to invest and building companies here in the state of Alabama. We're really looking at focusing, if you've joined us over the last year, we've really focused on access to capital and making sure that we get those investors who are in the state off the sidelines, where they're participating in our investments, and then looking to bring investors from outside of the state into the state. And I think we've been really successful with the Invest AL program. We're looking to continue that. You'll hear a little bit later about some of the other programs that we're working with HVL, which is our attempt to really expand on that momentum as we build capital for the state. We are attracting and building capacity for not just the investors and the founders, but really the capacity around supporting those founders. It's one thing to provide that capital to the founder to say, build your business. But if you can't navigate the state of Alabama, it gets to be really difficult. So we have several of our support from the ecosystem builders and the audience, and we really do work to make sure that those organizations are prepared to handle that capacity as we grow the founder capability in the state of Alabama. In terms of 2026, our focus is really to continue to supporting the founders. The founders and small businesses really are the lifeblood of the work that we do, and we'll continue that into 2026. A couple of areas that we're looking at now that we have a couple of years under our belt, and by the way, this is my third official year in this role. So I'm really excited about that. I rolled over my third year on the 1st of December. It's hard to believe. Yeah, it absolutely does. So we're looking at making sure, some of the feedback that we're getting is, are we getting the return on investment from our accelerator? So we'll be looking at return on investment, trying to make sure that our accelerators, our incubators are still delivering that capacity that we need to support the founders. Is there any duplication that we need to take a look at? We've been having some conversations with several organizations, and I think that's a natural progression of the work that we're doing. We want to build on that. We're talking about some additional accelerators that are really different. Our focus has always been to try to make sure that the market sectors that the accelerators are focused on are not duplicative. And so with Space Command, there are some interesting things I think that we can do by way of accelerators that we'd like to explore as we get into 2026. For the network designation program, that program has been very, very successful, but we want it to be more than just a funding mechanism. So we're looking at ways to really take that collaboration and convening a little bit deeper than what we're doing. We have already engaged. You'll hear Hope talk in a little bit about some of the visits that we've already had. We will continue those into 2026. I would ask you that if you're in the room and you'd like for us to visit your jurisdiction, please just let us know and we're happy to do that. But we do have a schedule that we're working with for 2026. One of the things that we're looking at with network designation is considering a matching so that we can really leverage those dollars a little bit more than we have in the past. Before we roll that out, of course, we would have conversations and make sure that the ecosystem is prepared to deal with that. But we do feel like that would help us really move those programs and those projects a little bit farther faster. We will be focusing on rural and urban collaboration from a regional perspective. We'd like to see more collaboration with the urbans and the rural communities. And then we're doing some special projects that are just focused on the rural from a tech perspective. So really excited about those things. May do a little bit of relaunching of the asset map. Looking to call that more of a Navigate AL so that we can help people be clear about how to navigate our ecosystem and work with our ecosystem builders. Ideation, again, all about leveraging the programs that we've already rolled out, looking at new programs that we want to bring to the table, but really building on some of the cybersecurity work that we've done and working with the workforce team to make sure that we are leaning in front of what their expectations are in regard to tech talent. So overall, those are the things that we're looking at. Commercialization is really important for us as we move into next year. We're seeing a lot of organizations sort of getting out of that acceleration mode, and it's really time for them to start figuring out how to do client attraction, how to build a business development team to grow those businesses. So we'll be looking into that and how do we balance that with acceleration as we look into 2026. And then commercialization, it's great that we're having organizations graduate out of the accelerators as we look at commercialization. That does get to be a little bit more expensive. So trying to partner with large corporates where those companies can be suppliers is really our focus area. So we'll be working with, I'm not going to name names yet because they haven't committed, but we're trying to work with larger corporations across the state of Alabama just to give us a little bit more depth in terms of that collaboration. And that's all I have for my update.
Thanks, Cynthia, for your efforts and for that update. Next, we'll recognize Ms. Hope Rizal to discuss our external affairs. Hope.
Well, good afternoon. It's really hard to believe that we're closing out 2025 and just in a few short weeks, I will be here for a year. Some days it seems a little longer and some days it seems like yesterday. No, just want to take the opportunity to thank you guys and Cynthia for the offer and the really pleasure and privilege of just working with this organization and the team and everyone that supports the organization. So as you can see, this past quarter, we kicked off the Connecting Alabama, Igniting the Innovate Alabama Network. We hosted the first one in partnership with Marion Military Institute, and we were thankful to have Senator Singleton there to speak and present. as well as Senator Stewart and Representative Curtis Travis. In that network, we had, or that region, we had counties from Clark, Dallas, Lowndes, Tuscaloosa, Perry, and Sumter. So great event, about 15 network recipients there and about a total of about 60 people in attendance. So it was really, really widely attended. Looking ahead, we have our next one scheduled for January 6th, which is in Northeast Alabama. And we are working with the speaker and his team to have him able to present and be present with us. Moving forward, in the first quarter of this year, we will hit more of our rural areas, Central East Alabama, South Alabama, and the Wiregrass region. And then following that, we will focus on our more urban areas, the river regions of Montgomery, North Alabama, Huntsville, and Central Alabama, Birmingham. Moving forward to our legislative engagement, we have had a very busy month so far for today with the board meeting, State of Innovation Day. And then looking forward to next week, we have Representative Garrett is going to be hosting a legislative listening session with members of the House. We're looking at around 15 House members. So this will be a key opportunity to showcase our team, highlight our founders, and receive meaningful feedback from the members of the legislature. In addition to that, I've actually spoken with Senator Singleton and Pro Tem Gudger, and they have expressed interest in wanting to host the same for the Senate, looking at that in February. Also, post that event with Representative Garrett, we have another exciting opportunity that we're proud to announce. We will have Dr. Condoleezza Rice back with us again this year, participating in a fireside chat and a panel with Chairman Poole moderating, Speaker Ledbetter, and Pro Tem Gudger. And then looking forward into 2026, as far as our policy areas, we are going to be focusing on our budget. So we are hopeful that the Senate and House committees will be receptive to our request and be working that with each of your assistants and Senator Gudger. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Hope? Yeah, I just want to emphasize and thank the team for the efforts to reach out across every area of the state. This has to extend beyond the urban areas. We support the efforts there, but making sure every region of the state has an opportunity to benefit from the efforts and to connect through the network opportunities of Innovate Alabama. So I think that is significant, and glad to see the movement to each area of the state to highlight the founders. And I know we use the word founders regularly, but those are small businesses. Each and every one is Alabamians and small businesses. So that is where the focus is. So thank you for highlighting that today.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, we'll recognize our COO, Lee Matthews, for an update. Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Poole. Good afternoon, everybody. It's been almost a day, 6 months for me, which is amazing. The last time I came up here was my first day on the job, you may recall, and I introduced myself very, very briefly. And I would echo Hope's comments. I would say thank you to all of you. Thank you to Cynthia for the opportunity to work for this amazing organization. I'm very, very, very grateful. Really excited to share with you what we have planned for 2026 with respect to our IT strategy. So I'm going to be presenting the plan and how this is going to impact our operations, how we collaborate with our partners, and the transparency enhanced that you're going to see and the benefits you're going to see from this initiative. So we'll be able to keep you updated continually. We'll be able to transform a little bit the way our staff operates today, and of course, how we're serving our partners and the overall innovation community. So with that, let me begin by saying that our strategy focuses on these three core pillars. We want to enhance the transparency and board collaboration that we have today. So what does this mean? This means that you're going to get real-time data across the organization. You'll be able to see how we're performing across regions, across programs. All of that will become visible to you, and we'll be able to streamline and hopefully improve the board packet assembly process, so you'll get information very, very quickly as well. Whenever you need the access, you'll have it. Second, we're going to optimize our core business processes. And we can leverage this technology that we're building here and leveraging to really streamline a lot of the manual tasks that our team spends a lot of time on and give them the opportunity to focus on the more strategic work that we need. And then ultimately, we're looking to improve how we collaborate with our partners, giving them the opportunity to be able to interact with us very, very seamlessly through a portal. So they'll be able to submit applications, they'll know the status of things as they're proceeding through the workflows, all the approval processes, et cetera. So we're really excited about that. It's going to really enhance the way we work with them and provide a fantastic experience for these small business owners and all of our partners within the ecosystem. And when you think about it, all of these different initiatives kind of really blend together because we're going to get better data. Better processes yield better data. When we have better data, we're able to tell our story much better, right? I know that's a goal for all of us. We want to be able to make data-driven decisions and help to enable our story. So where are we today? We have a fantastic team. They're incredibly dedicated. We've got, from an operational standpoint, all of our standard operating processes have been well documented at this point, and we certainly have some foundational digital tools in place. But we still have some opportunities for improvement. A lot of our data resides in fragmented systems, so we want to be able to bring all that together. There's some repetitive work that gets done at times. We want to make sure we're surfacing insights to everyone as they need them in real time. So here's what that can look like in practice. This is kind of the centerpiece of our strategy, which is one platform powered by artificial intelligence. We can use artificial intelligence not as a buzzword, but as a very, very powerful tool because it is capable of doing a lot of amazing things. So let's start there. The first is the multi-pronged portal. So our EDOs are going to have a portal, for example. So when they want to submit an application for tax credits, they'll be able to do that through the portal and see in real time actually the status of it, submit their reports ongoing, and all of that data will be captured, brought into the system and visible to you. Same is true for our network members, our financial institutions, all the partners that we work so closely with. And for you, the board, you're going to have your own portal that you'll be able to go in and see all of this data as well, as I mentioned. End-to-end workflow. So all of the workflows now will be automated. We're going to leverage intelligent automation and artificial intelligence to automate a lot of the workflows. Right now, some of them are somewhat manual. So we're going to try to eliminate that manual friction and make this much, much more seamless for our team, which will enable them to really be able to focus on the strategic work and less on the administration. All of this, by the way, is going to be auditable. So everything that happens in the system is going to be tracked. This will be essentially audit-proof, which is our goal as an organization. We'll make sure that we are disclosing everything that we can about all the work that we're doing. And every one of the organizations is going to have the opportunity to have secure role-optimized access. This means that when a user enters the system, they'll see exactly what they need to see, and it'll be no more, no less. So partners will see what is germane to them. You as the board members will see all the confidential information that you need. Our program directors will see all of the information that they need to see to get their workflows approved. In terms of where we are taking all of this and its impact, you can see here across the different pillars that we're going to affect. So this is where we're going to see the ROI in terms of efficiencies, and I'll talk through these in more detail. But you can see it's going to be operational as well as enhanced decision-making. We're going to reduce risk across the organization, far better reporting and transparency, and most importantly, improved collaboration, which has been thematic already. When we think about ROI in total, there's a number of areas that I can cover here. I'll just name a few. Specifically, as it relates to operational efficiency, we're looking at a 30% administrative reduction right out of the gate. We're looking at reduced deal cycle times. We're estimating 50%. So we'll be able to really provide a fantastic white glove experience for our small business owners when they're looking to raise capital. And at the end of the day, this means that we're going to be positive ROI in this within 12 months. So the investment is going to yield immediate results from a hard ROI perspective right out of the gate, as well as all of the fantastic competitive positioning we're going to gain from this by leveraging this in a way that really allows us to say, you know what, we are in fact living innovation day to day. So from a rollout perspective, this is our timeline. Right now we are doing a core pilot focused principally on the portal for the board, as well as our tax credits program, the workflow and reporting specifically, as well as our partner portal for tax credits, i.e. EDOs. And we're completing that development now. We're in the final phases of that. In January, we'd like to enlist your help to get several members of you, if you could, if you have the time and bandwidth. I know it's going to be hard, but at least provide us some feedback so we can get some insights. We want to make sure that it's completely optimized for your needs. You're getting exactly what you expect. And then Kelly and her team, she's done a magnificent job. I'd be remiss if I didn't call Kelly out for all the hard work she's done. We'll also be kind of validating tax credits and making sure that all the workflow and everything she needs is there. we'll do a go, no-go approval from that. We will want your input, and Cynthia, myself, and you will validate. And from there, we'll start rolling out the next set of programs. We'll have it available for tax credits for the next round, and we'll start looking at network designation specifically and CBER-SITR, and then we'll evolve from there. This will be done in a phased approach. We want to mitigate the risk of the rollout by doing it in a phased structure. By 2026, we'll have all the programs ready to go, and we hope to wrap that up at the end of Q2. So here are our next steps for implementation. We're going to purchase some of you iPads. Actually, you're all going to get iPads at some point. Configure the iPads for you so you'll be able to seamlessly go on, facial recognition, just log in and it will be right there for you. We'll begin testing, get your feedback, and we'll present the final solution to you in January at the next board meeting. That is our plan for IT for 2026. There are more elements to it, but this is the centerpiece of the strategy. With that, I will open it up to questions. Yes, Representative Garrett.
Yes, is that better? Yeah. This is out of my wheelhouse, but
Sure.
help me understand. You said this was auditable.
Yes.
What is the process for auditing, or how do we ensure the security and the proper operations of all this?
Yeah, great question. So the system itself is going to track literally every click within the system. So anything that happens in the system is tracked in a log. So we will know every transaction, every moment anything happens in the system, it will be tracked and can be delivered to auditors. In terms of security, there's multi-layers of security that are built in.
But that delivery to auditors, that's a human element that basically does a traditional type audit approach, or what?
We can run reports that we can provide to the auditors depending on their requests, very much like a SOC audit. So that's a common audit that's done often in IT. You'll get a SOC audit request, and it's going to be somewhat similar to that.
So will those audits be part of our standard procedures or something upon request?
Upon request typically, but we can do it at any time. We can audit our own systems, and we will. Yeah,
It'll be both.
yeah,
Like an internal audit.
Yes,
yes.
yes.
I think I know what you mean by 30% administrative reduction, but could you explain that?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, when we were talking about the workflow processes for our team, a lot of their processes today as they're structured are not optimized. So they're doing a lot of manual administrative work. There's a lot of crosstalk with emails. There's a lot of document creation, a lot of retrieval of information from fragmented sources. When this is all fully residing in this one system, they're only going to have to go to one place. Everything is going to be automated, very seamless for them, surface when they need it in real time, and the process will flow seamlessly. That's going to achieve a big return.
Let me give that a little bit more flavor. So take, for instance, the funding agreements. They back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. At some point, they get approved. They then go into DocuSign for signature. After that, they get stored in the SharePoint. They get emailed to the recipients. And so this process will allow us to have them stored in a certain place that if I'm the partner, I don't have to call Kelly or someone and say, what's the status of my funding report? I can
Right.
log in and see, okay, my funding agreement is almost to me.
Exactly.
So that way it's cycle time, not just for us internal, but also for the organizations that we work with trying to track us down.
Right. We want to provide a world-class experience for all of our small businesses.
Any other questions or comments? Well, I would just like to say we've talked about accelerating our efforts on the IT front to become more efficient. This organization exists to serve Alabamians, and the more efficient and transparent that we are, then we will be better in accomplishing that
Yes, sir.
mission. And I think the level of transparency, we've always held that as the North Star, and I'm pleased that this will continue to enhance that objective. So,
Thank you, Chairman.
thank you, Lee. All right, next on our agenda is an access to capital update. I'll turn the floor over to you, Cynthia, but I will just foreshadow by saying, access to capital is one of the critical pillars of this effort, and that's not just providing capital, it's attracting external capital. And we've been very successful in that in terms of bringing investment into the state from outside sources, which is clearly our objective, to bring investment into Alabama businesses from non-traditional sources that would typically invest here. So excited to hear more about this opportunity and this initiative. So, Cynthia.
Okay, thank you. So if you guys noticed today, we're only going to talk about access to capital. We are not going to talk about the other pillars today in the interest of time so that we are able to get over to State of Innovation Day. So the first thing we have is an update for the Venture Studio, and we're going to ask Ms. Brittany Somerville to give us the introduction on that project.
Thank you. I'm excited to provide you all an update today on our Venture Studio and the Studio Fund. The studio is operated by HVL, Harmony Venture Labs here in Birmingham, and it works directly with corporate partners across the state to identify opportunities for new Alabama-based companies. The studio is designed to accelerate innovation and entrepreneurship across the state with a goal of creating 10 new companies over the next 3 years. Since its launch in March, the Venture Studio has continued to build strong momentum. Several corporate partners are already engaged and the ideation cycles remain active. The first company is already on schedule for launch. In parallel, progress is also underway for the Venture Studio Fund. This provides capital to support these startups. To walk you through this progress to date and share updates on both the studio and the fund, I want to introduce Mary Beth Grant, our Capital Access Program Director for Innovate Alabama.
Perfect. Thank you, Brittany. And I'll speak just briefly, and then I'll invite Shagan to give a more in-depth details about how the studio has been progressing. But so far, the Venture Studio team has significantly expanded outreach to companies across the state. Shagan and his team has been meeting with corporate and industry leaders across Birmingham, Mobile, and Huntsville, focusing on identifying real industry pain points, understanding market needs, and identifying those opportunities to create here in Alabama. The response has been very encouraging, with many of these companies expressing interest with engaging in the studio, and we continue to build this pipeline. We're actively seeking additional connections to companies throughout the state, both within those urban centers, but also rural companies that could take advantage of this opportunity. On the venture building side, the ideation pipeline is progressing well. We have had multiple concepts that are moving through the studio, and the first company is on track to launch in Q1 of 2026, which will be the first of the companies to launch there. On the capital front, just as of, I believe, yesterday, Innovate Alabama has officially invested the $5 million into the studio fund. This anchor investment provides the initial capital required to begin supporting those studio-created companies, and Harmony Venture Labs will now lead efforts to kind of finish out that fund from private investors and corporate partners. And once raised, the fund will continue to support aspects such as early product development, customer acquisition, and those initial first hires, ensuring that those startups have access to the critical early-stage capital they need during the hardest phase of building. And with that, I'll hand the presentation over to Shagan, CEO of Harmony Venture Labs, to share a little bit more details about how the studio's been going.
So we prepared a deck, but before that, I just want to say the way we see this at HVL is this is really a seed that we're planting, and we really hope it grows into something pretty big. My hope and aspiration for this is that we would look many years from now, and this has become a pretty big catalyst for important things, fantastic things happening here. What is critical to startup success in a community is the volume of startups, the quality of the ideas, the kind of people working in it. And for us, this is a vehicle to kind of make that happen and make that happen very fast in a very short period of time. Like Mary Beth said, this week we actually closed on the fund. So if you think about what we're doing here, we're literally looking for problems, putting the HVL engine behind those problems in collaboration with companies, solving those problems, and then giving them an advantage through funding. And just repeating that at the highest velocity we can, as long as those ideas are high quality ideas and they have potential in the world. So if you look at the engine, like I just described, we're taking the HVL vehicle on the studio side, using it to validate, look for ideas, build companies, and then we're giving them an advantage through the fund. And as of March, we have 7 prospective partners in the pipeline. These are partners we're in active conversations with. We haven't started building anything with. And then we have 3 that we started building with. You may not understand how we work at HVL, but we have 4 phases that our ideas go through, but you can see one is in the build and launch phase. There are 2 that are in the test and sprint phase until they go through the phases. And each phase kind of gives you a better validity and clarity around the potential for an idea to be very successful in the marketplace. So that first one is going to launch in early 2026, and we'll keep going from there. We kicked off the Innovate Fund in November, and we closed with our first LP, which is Innovate Alabama, this week. The goal is to add another 5, maybe 10 million to the fund. And what that does is really drive vehicles. Again, economic outcomes are the primary drivers here. There's nothing wrong at all with community development. That's not the point. But we're trying to create an economic engine here. So the goal here is really huge economic outcomes. And that's how we see it. Otherwise, honestly, it's not worth our time if that's not the goal. So, but I think this really places us in a fantastic place in the community to do big things. So as we look ahead to 2026, the goal is to really build momentum, launch the first venture in 26 Q1, first fund investment also in 26. And while we have the goal of 10 companies over the next 3 years, we're really trying to build this engine to be able to do 5 to 7 innovation cycles at a time to be able to get to that number. And like I said, raise an additional 5, maybe even push it to 10, depending on if a lot of the interest we're getting now kind of play out. So in summary, 3 years, this is what we're trying to do, launch at least 10 high growth startups and attract 10 million in additional capital. This is beyond the 10 million that we're trying to seed into the fund. We are hoping that because of the quality of the ideas, the quality of the companies, the potential for outsized outcomes, we'll be able to bring in an additional $10 million in early stage capital into these companies. Obviously, if those companies continue to perform, the capital is going to go way beyond the additional 10 million. But that's the game plan here. And I'm pretty excited to see how this goes. I don't know if any of you have questions. I'm happy to answer it. Brittany is looking at me like she has questions.
I think it's great. Doing a great job.
I have a public company with a problem, and you may have already followed up on it, but if you haven't, I'll see you afterwards.
I would love to follow up with it. Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate that, Dr. Chambers.
Any other questions or comments? Shagan, I want to thank you for your work on this, but I want to do my best to simplify for those that maybe aren't familiar with this effort. The board has worked hard on this. You've worked hard on this, Brittany. You've worked hard on this. Thank you. But for those in the audience present today or maybe watching virtually, the idea here is to talk to Alabama companies that exist about problems that they have in whatever way that may manifest. It could be a supply chain issue, technology issue, whatever the case may be, and then collaborate with that company to establish a startup or a smaller company to work to solve that problem. And in doing so, the company benefiting invests in the new company. So we're accomplishing 2 goals with a minimal amount of seed investment. One is to talk to existing Alabama companies about how can we create a new Alabama company to help your company be more successful, and in doing so, create a new Alabama company that in and of itself will become more successful, and in the establishment of that solution, extend that to other companies,
Exactly.
Alabama or beyond as well.
Exactly.
But the idea, to be clear, is for external investors to invest in the concepts of the new company. So I want to make sure that that's clear.
Yes.
That this leverages that external investment for the benefit of multiple Alabama companies, obviously owned, driven, and operated by Alabamians, not multinational.
We are literally giving the companies we're creating as much of an advantage as we can. They have a built-in design partner in the company they're collaborating with. They have built-in startup building knowledge through HVL, and then they have built-in funding advantage through the fund. So we're kind of trying to put everything together. when we deal with the companies, we want to let them know that our goal is new company creation, not a narrow problem solution for them internally. So that also is something that's very, very important that we tell the companies. If it's just, I have this small problem in my company I want to fix, we're like, no, we want a big problem that affects you, maybe affects your whole industry, affects your customers, and that's really what gets juices flowing. So that's really how we're looking at
And
it.
it's that external company investment that creates the
Exactly.
value in this opportunity.
Exactly.
And the multiplier effect consequently. So I think the potential of this is significant. I thank you for your experience and leadership.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Shagan. Next on our agenda is a founder update. So it's always exciting as we think about Alabamians and small businesses founding companies that are solving problems. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Cynthia.
Okay, this is actually our last item, so we're actually for once ahead of schedule. I can hardly believe it. But we'd like to welcome to the stage AgWorks, the AgWork founder, Dale, with ShipShape to just talk about his story and how the funding and capital has supported their growth.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me today. My name is Dale Spugins, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of ShipShape AgWorks. And we're really focused on building the future of food in the state of Alabama right here. It's crazy that in America, it takes on average 1,500 miles for a plate of food, for everything that comes on your plate of food to reach you. So distribution is a major issue that we face. High energy costs when you look at vertical farming and indoor grows and the way that we're working it. And then high labor, because most of these vertical farms that you've seen built around the country are put inside big major metropolitan cities. They're in places like New York and Houston where labor cost is high. So how do we fix that? We really rethink how we're building our food system. We focus on distribution, where we create this network of farms that work together, collaborate together, using the latest new technology to grow food indoors in a more sustainable way by doing things around energy efficiency. And that's where some of our biggest patent sets come from, are around an energy capture system, as well as a few other renewable integration systems that help us lower the operating cost of building and operating a vertical farm. Also just some good baseline common sense maneuvers. And then how do we save money on labor? By not having our farms in these major metropolitan areas, we can build it on land that costs less. We can have folks in rural communities who are traditionally working historic farms be able to come back in and work in this new system, this new kind of way of looking at farming. And so after the past year, it's been pretty huge for us. We've had a 10x growth in revenue. We've gone from just 3 employees to 10. We've acquired another $720K in funding. We've also launched our second experiment to the International Space Station, experimenting with plant genetics. And I'm happy to say that we're planning to launch our third next year. But most importantly, we just signed documents on our Series A for a $6.5 million investment into ShipShape. That would not have been possible without this. But it comes with more than that. It lets us take our really bright engineers and designers and horticulturalists that we have right here in Birmingham, which I should say, we are here in Birmingham. We got our start in Mobile, but we're here in Birmingham thanks to Alabama Power and Techstars bringing us here for the Techstars Accelerator, and then also thanks to Generators AgTech Accelerator, who we are a product of that first cohort also. Those two funds, along with their investment from Innovate Alabama, have let us bring in an outside state investor that's also a major strategic partner, and right now we're in the early stages and have executed the contracts on a new project in Miami, which will be the last 15 acres of developable space in downtown Miami, and we'll have a 60,000 plus or minus square foot vertical farm located on that location as well. This year, what do we accomplish? Our first big win is our training and main workforce development hub right here in Alabama in Sylacauga. We're building on top of the old Avondale Mills facility in conjunction with an organization called Earth. This 25,000 square foot vertical farm combines not only greenhouses, but highly efficient indoor grow systems, generates roughly 5 to 6 mil at a wholesale price per year of revenue out of this facility. And we've completed the master plan for it, and we are finalizing the design right now as we speak, with an expectation to break ground shortly after the new year. First planting in July, with first harvest right in time for school to start for kids in our region. So where do we look to for next year? Well, we're going to scale operations at Earth. We're going to get rid of and put into this local economy the goal of selling in Alabama, in our backyard, the food that's grown at this facility, which will be unlike other vertical farms that are focused on one. We will be growing tomatoes, lettuce, leafy greens, as well as mushrooms, all under one roof, producing several hundred pounds of produce every single week. We'll grow our team to 30 in Silicago, the rural comment that y'all at the board were making earlier, and another 10 here in Birmingham are more technical, predominantly engineers, lots of masters, PhDs on my team. We'll begin executing on our Miami project, as well as some other pipeline projects that we have everywhere from Huntsville to the Shoals to Mobile, Baldwin County area projects, trying to push those forward. My name is Dale Speechens. If y'all would like to see what we're doing, please check out our website, send us me or my CFO, Mark, an email, or if y'all are in the Innovation Depot later today and would like to see our labs, come and see us. We're on Hall D105, and we'd be happy to give a couple of tours this afternoon. Thank y'all.
And the tomatoes are phenomenal.
We have the first crop of space tomatoes coming in right now. Should be able to harvest shortly.
Hang on, Dale.
Dale, hold on just a minute.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that, sir.
So, a space farmer.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well,
So,
it's for the genetics.
I'm interested in your background. I mean, tell us a little more about you. What was your educational experience? What was your interest in agriculture? How did you decide to be in Alabama? Give us some more background after you've given us these great outcomes of where you're going with your business, and we're glad Innovate can be a small part. But
And add to that, if you will, in that arc, the role that Innovate played in why that was critical in your success in forming this company as you go forward through that arc.
And then finish up with how much your business evolved, right?
I certainly will, because it's evolved quite a bit, because Dr. Chambers has known me for years. So Abe and, excuse me, I should probably use your full name, Abe. But we went to high school together. We've known each other for, aging ourselves now, 20 years-ish, little over. So I grew up in Daphne, Fairhope area, 5th generation Fairhope family, back when it was called No Hope and what have you, because no one ever wanted to leave. But went to school right out of high school, went into the military, fought in Iraq, came back home from my time in the military, started college at Faulkner or Coastal, because that's its new name, I guess. Still always be Faulkner to me, but met my wife there. She was studying biomedical science. We went to Auburn. She was a diehard Alabama fan. Auburn had the best architecture school in the country besides Harvard. But I wanted to study architecture, winded up in the process while I was at college, changing my major to environmental design, and then did a double master's in landscape architecture, urban design. Dr. Chambers, I believe I met you the first time when I was working on the Bloomberg Innovation team. I was one of the first 2 hires for the Bloomberg I team in Mobile, and I was the guy that no one ever saw that was on the desk writing the back-end models for how to deal with blight in Alabama back in 2014 timeframe. Went on to teach a little bit at Auburn University and at University of San Francisco at Quito down in South America. While I was teaching at Auburn and while I was working on the Bloomberg team, we kept butting into the same idea. What's the quickest way to revitalize a community? It's community gardens. It's the cheapest, most cost-effective way. And I came back to, I had this wild idea in college, pitched it out actually here in Birmingham for the Red Rock Ridge and Valley Trail System. It's called the Cross to Sloss Trail, to put farms, restaurants, bars, and incubation space in shipping containers. So that's where we started, was a shipping container farm. And this was back in 2016. We had a little local farm in Mobile, Alabama. I know you'd been there before, Dr. Chambers, and a handful of other folks probably in this room had been to that location before. We built the first prototype, tested it. It was before freight farms had put their stuff out into the market. They beat us to market, and we watched them crash and burn gloriously because they had no long-term way of making money, and they could either make money or they could make it where their customers couldn't make money. A little bit higher ethics and wanted to do it right by our customers and by us, because that's how you win in the end. So went back to the drawing board, created the next iteration, which is a completely modular unit. It worked, but same thing. It just wasn't enough. It didn't produce enough food to make it really worthwhile where we could make money, the customer could make money, and it could really make a dent, a major change. So went back to the drawing board one more time, and that is when we were working on projects similar in nature to what Earth is today, and we met the partners at Earth. Earth was our big kickoff. They really opened up the door, allowed us to build our first major facility, and Innovate Alabama came in during this time frame as we were getting ready to raise our Series Seed. We raised roughly that $700K near the beginning of the year and tail end of last year, and we knew that this was a possibility with this large investor group. And it's just taken approximately about 8 months to get that to fruition. So that's about the arc. A little long-winded. I hope I answered all your questions. I'm happy to answer any more if y'all have them though.
I just wanted to say that this is not unusual. My experience has always been, I never ended up with what I started with. So if you think that, the first idea fails, Dale and his company is a really good example of how you pivot. And this is probably somewhat inappropriate, but you, Dylan, will you raise your hand back there? Dr. Dylan Fritz, brand new Executive Vice President at Hudson Alpha. He's a specialist and expert in genetics. I know you got a lot of people on staff already, but might be great for the two of y'all to meet.
Love to meet you, sir.
Thank you. Dale, just out of curiosity, and if you're not comfortable sharing this for any proprietary or competitive reason, that's fine, but do you have an idea of the average wage of your employees?
Yes, I actually know that exactly. The average wage for a farmhand is going to be approximately $15 to $16 an hour. That's starting out fresh out of high school. And this is not backbreaking bent over farm work. This is in a workstation, in air conditioning, in PPE gear, much more like a lab setting than a traditional out in the field kind of work.
Okay, and for your company as a whole, your
company as
full
a whole,
portfolio
it's
of
in the
employees?
upper 80s. When you look towards where we're at today, but I definitely have some very, very talented people that are taking wages less than what they've made at other places because they believe in the idea and because I'm a firm believer in if they're on my team, they've got a piece of the pie. They're in it to win with us.
Dale, I have a quick one.
Yes, sir.
What have you learned because of the work you did on station?
On the space station?
Space station.
Yes. So the primary focus of the space station work is really around genetics. So what we're doing is sending our seeds up into space. And today, if any of y'all come by and see us, you'll be able to see in the tomato lab, tomatoes grown in ground tomatoes grown from Earth and tomatoes that have been to space. We also have some lettuce that's going in a new system that we're finishing the build on right now. The real goal of what we're doing with space is about 5% to 10% have a genetic mutation that happens. It's the same thing that's happened what turned corn from a piece of grass into something that's widely consumed around the world today. It accelerates that process. And so about 10% of the crops have that. And so what our goal is, we test it, we see what looks like something's positive, faster, stronger, better, healthier growth. Then once we're done with that, we let it go to the next generation. If that genetics carries on, we then harvest those seeds and we run it for the next run. And so the real goal here is how do we come up with a new genetic line that is better, stronger, better quality crops that is specifically tailored to growing indoor vertical farms, accelerating that growth. And to that end, that all spurred this experimentation, trying to look through genetic varieties, spurred from crafting environmental changes inside the farms at our test facility. And one of the things that we did is starting to trick the day-night cycles, starting to trick different environmental components of it. And what we've learned to do is take 12 weeks for growing plants outside down to about 5 weeks growing them indoors. So that means every square foot produces 2 plants to 1 on top of the vertical stack. And the goal is, if we can find that right genetic variety, get something out even faster, even cleaner, even better quality than we would have been able to otherwise.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say something for the, kind of for the board's edification, I guess, and this makes me smile. I want to learn a whole lot more and see, but I'm excited because Director Poole remembered this when the Earth people first came to see us several years ago with this idea about having a facility in that part of the state, and it's good to see the synergy here and how this is just kind of you've taken advantage of that. Margaret Morton was very involved in that project. Representative Ben Robbins was involved in that project early on. They made a great case. It's just very gratifying to see that you guys connected to that, and that that's very exciting. And I think it's indicative of the economic development efforts that's going on within the legislature. I think that there's a strategy there. Now we have director of workforce, and we've got a whole. I think the state's moving in the right direction. But this is a very personally pleasing presentation. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Can we clap now? Thank you, Dale. So that completes the substantive portion of our agenda. I'll pause for a moment to invite any kind of questions, comments for the good of the order, and then I'll outline our future meeting dates and a couple closing comments. But does anybody have anything? All right. So our future board dates for the calendar year 2026 are January 14, June 26. June of 2026. We're still
TBD
looking
on
at
that.
TBD on the actual date. August 6 of 2026, December TBD the date 2026. So we'll certainly provide more information. The Q1 meeting is in Montgomery, Q2 in Coleman, Q3 in Point Clear, Q4 in Birmingham. Those are always subject to change if we need to for any particular reason, but that'll be our plan going forward. We are very excited about State of Innovation Day events this afternoon across the three regions. We hope everybody will attend and stick around as long as possible. I think today's meeting was shorter than our last meeting. We had a long meeting, as the board members well remember, recently in Huntsville. But I think this again demonstrates the impact Innovate Alabama is attempting to continue to have on Alabama businesses. We have a lot of wonderful multinational businesses that are very important for our state, but it is also important that the state of Alabama invests in Alabama businesses, and we think about the future economy and what it holds for our citizens. And then we have high-paying jobs that are available so our children and our grandchildren have career opportunities in Alabama. And as I say sometimes, to ensure that our efforts that are always ongoing in education in the state of Alabama are to educate and prepare our citizens to stay here and work, be part of the workforce in Alabama, that we are not preparing the workforce for somewhere else. And this is a part of that. And again, to see the reach of these efforts into every area of Alabama, including the rural areas, which are critical, and leverage the investments the state has made in broadband and many other areas as we create new opportunities and help foster those across the state. Before we cross the street and celebrate another year of work, I do want to pause and thank this board. I will not dwell on this for long, but I want to recognize the fact that this will be the last formal meeting of this inaugural board of Innovate Alabama, and I want to extend my personal thanks. I can tell you, I extend also the thanks of Governor Ivey, who appointed each of you onto this board for your service. It is pretty remarkable. I think we had a board meeting recently that demonstrated it, but Innovate Alabama is, in and of itself, a startup. It is unique. It is a public-private partnership. It has been copied and emulated in Alabama and in other places. It has created an opportunity to attract attention from investors outside of the state of Alabama, to leverage investors inside of the state of Alabama. to invest their capital here instead of in other locations. It is an opportunity for us to retain and recruit talent. And I think each of you, individually and collectively, have made a positive impact on our state forever. And I am grateful to each of you for your contribution in that regard. The future is bright, but it is a moment to stop and say thanks for what brought us to today. So thank you all for your efforts. Thank you, everybody, for joining today, and let's go celebrate. Thank you. We're adjourned.